To all my fans out there, welcome to the 17th episode of One Angry Black Republican. Now, today's podcast is going to focus on the controversy that has plagued the city of, Newark. This controversy that has plagued New Jersey. And, as far as, this plague is concerned, we're dealing with the plague in politics, namely the Democratic Party in this particular state, because, the Democratic Party has had a stronghold in the state of New Jersey for some time. And, what I've come to learn in watching the political environment unfold, as also watching specifically how many of the people that are playing in politics, literally how shrewd and how aggressive these individuals can be when it comes to maintaining their power. So I want to, title this particular podcast, where there is absolute power, there is absolute corruption. Where there is absolute power, there is absolute corruption. And, we're going to look at, two individuals in specific in this particular podcast. The current Senator, Cory Booker, and, who would have been, an amazing challenge, to the politics of, Cory Booker in the state of New Jersey. And that is, Brother Randal Pickett. So this, Randal Pickett, Cory Booker gate that I want to paint today. I'm gonna focus on, some of the facts in this saga, because, and through those facts, we can make certain inferences, especially when you look at all of those facts within context. And the context we're talking about is New Jersey politics. So, we can go right to the beginning. Cory Booker. Now, Cory Booker shows up on the Newark scene, in and around 1997, because in 1998, Cory Booker is now a city councilman in the city of Newark. Now, Cory Booker, though, he claims roots in the city of Newark, which so many people do in the state of New Jersey. A lot of people grew up in the city of Newark. And, so he has, according to his narrative, from his perspective, roots in the city of Newark. I believe his parents or grandparents had some roots in Newark, but Cory Booker did not grow up in the city of Newark. He grew up in a suburb in New Jersey. And, he shows up in Newark in 1998 to claim a seat on the city council in Newark. And he's there between 1998 and 2002. Because in about 2002 is when he made his first run for the mayor's office against then incumbent Sharp James. It was a failed attempt at trying to seize power in the state of in the city of Newark. So, he goes on a hiatus for about 4 years, and which brings us back to 2006. Well, which brings us to 2006, in which, he is now elected mayor of the city of Newark. Okay, it was a crazy campaign, but he becomes the mayor of the city of Newark in 2006 and holds that position until 2013. Almost run out of Newark in about 2013, which, when the groundswell in the people of Newark began to mount against this, image, this pristine image that Cory Booker brought into Newark, New Jersey, and Newark politics, we learned in Newark, and this was the conventional wisdom coming out of the city of Newark. We learned that our city was used. Let that sink in for a minute. We learned in Newark that our city was used, and it left a bitter taste in our mouth when Cory Booker, runs for the Senate, and which was a very, very, aggressive, blunt campaign. Everywhere I looked in the state of New Jersey, I saw Cory Booker for senator. He built a popularity from the city of Newark, which we interpreted in Newark as him using Newark as a stepping stone, to what his ultimate goal was, which was, that track towards presidency. Is, Newark grounds his, journey in politics, and then he elevates to the Senate, and then the bid for president. So we see, that development, that projection of, we see his projection forward. Okay. So the interesting portion of this is in 2006, because in 2006, this brilliant brother, Randal Pickett, actually is, leading Cory Booker's transition team in 2006. So, and now mind you, Randal Pickett, he is just coming off of an amazing win of season 4 of The Apprentice. So, he is just blasted onto the national scene, Randal Pickett, and he's in Newark in 2006 leading the transition team of Cory Booker into the mayor's office at the city of Newark. Now, this right here, here's where you gotta sort of begin your inferences, because one thing I learned about politics and plausible denial, many of these politicians are connected, and they're connected through a variety of different organizations, and these coalitions, these secret societies, or these organizations, these coalitions, they cherry pick, they choose the people that they want to run for office. There's this standard democratic established, the democratic establishment in New Jersey. The official Democratic Party, they have candidates that they back. Now, how those candidates get selected is important. And I only have one personal anecdote on a personal level to offer up, to that reality I'm painting here. In Hillside, New Jersey, I was, pretty much literally asked, by, Brother Anthony Salters, who is currently under indictment in the city of Hillside. But he approached me, and I say approached me, called me, we met at Dunkin' Donuts, and he, asked me if I wanted to be on the school board. As a teacher, I'd run in with him in Irvington in my early part of my career. And I'm excited. I'm like, sure, I would love to join you guys' campaign and push, the ideas that I have for, the school board. So I was gearing up for this grassroots process of, going out door to door, doing all these things. And Anthony Salters pretty much said, no, listen, brother, bring me a check for $2,000 and you're good. We have the infrastructure already. And I became instantly turned off. I was disgusted. So I and I'm a bullhorn. When I'm transparent. When, I see, injustice or corruption, I'm a whistleblower. All the way whistleblower type, okay? When it comes to, individuals trying to pull the wool over the people. So I call it out immediately. So that was my only example of dealing with the kind of corruption in New Jersey politics as far as the Democrats are concerned. Now, here's the big, scenario. In 2009, now, Booker's now in Newark office, and we know his eyes are set on the Senate. Okay? So, in steps into the political arena, Brother Randal Pickett. This sharp, educated, he also was a Rhodes Scholar, graduate of Rutgers, also went abroad to study at some of the finest institutions, Oxford as well. His resume almost mimics Cory Booker's, right? Almost mimics it. John Corzine is running for the governor's office in 2009. There are many individuals who are supporting Corzine throughout the state of New Jersey. And then there's the lieutenant governor choice. And Pickett emerges as the front runner, and Corzine was happy about that and ready to select him to be his running mate. And here's where the okie doke comes in. The same okie doke that played out against Bernie Sanders. If the establishment doesn't want to invest in a candidate for some reason, they knock the air out of their balloon. Bernie Sanders in Iowa was the front runner all throughout the election in Iowa. Front runner. And then all of a sudden, something happens with the polls. There's your plausible denial. It's like, you're the one in control of these, and we're talking about the Democratic Party. The polling is problematic, and the momentum that is supposed to spring Bernie Sanders directly to the nomination at the convention is deflated. And Buttigieg now is this winner, quote unquote, the big winner that day out of Iowa. So the momentum was knocked out and deflated. And that's what the Democratic Party does. What we've noticed over the years. And this exactly happens with Randal Pickett. This brother was sabotaged. Whisperings began. This man is running for the lieutenant governor position. He's the front runner. And then all of a sudden, when the deal is about to be struck, bam, the legs are swept from underneath him. Now, I know a lot of individuals are going to try to, challenge that narrative. Especially people who have been a part of, that political swamp, for decades. They're going to attack the idea. They're going to attack it by, projecting so much information, because that's what they do. They're masters at this. I call them the master class of politicians. They're never really, they're very, very shrewd, and the kind of fortitude that they display or express, show backed by, this sense of knowing, as opposed to others who are quote unquote out of the loop, who don't know. They always come off seeming as if they're the authority. They do have power in some of these cases. They got power. You've been elected to an office, and now with that office, you're pushing a lot of your own ideas and views to the people and packaging that as gospel. And then anyone who is deemed a threat is executed in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So here you have this brilliant brother, just won The Apprentice, and that's what I'm gonna spend, the bulk of this podcast talking about, at least the latter part of this podcast talking about, my experience with Brother Randal Pickett. Because I met Randal Pickett at Metropolitan Baptist Church. And I want to share some of the highlight points that he gave as he spoke to the congregation at Metropolitan Baptist Church when I met him. And this was right around, I want to say, 2009. I want to say he gave this powerful dialogue at Metropolitan Baptist Church that really was one of the first red flags that that hit me as I was trying to frame this narrative. So in 2009, here this brother is standing at he's right on the floor actually, where the right underneath the pulpit. He's standing behind a podium, and he begins to tell us who Randal Pickett is, who he is. And the biggest. So here we have Randal Pickett now standing in front of the congregation at Metropolitan Baptist Church, and he's sharing with us his experience with The Apprentice, and specifically Donald Trump. Okay? Randal Pickett describes a Donald Trump in this congregation, to this congregation, a Donald Trump that was a master businessman. It's out of Randal Pickett's mouth. Master businessman. He tells us how Donald Trump, who sits at the head of the organization, he stays in his lane. He stays in his own lane. He gets and it's Randal Pickett talking. He gets the most brilliant minds of whatever endeavor he's pursuing. He surrounds himself with the greatest minds of that particular field and all the component parts of that field. He surrounds himself with the best people first. That's out of Randal Pinkett's mouth, who works with him directly. Who worked with him directly an entire year after winning The Apprentice. So let's talk about The Apprentice year where he's, doing all these activities, and you might want to go back and watch those if you can with Randal Pinkett and watch how brilliant and sharp this brother is and how he moves through that competition. He wins The Apprentice, and then he gets to spend a year working directly with Donald Trump. And he's telling us that Donald Trump is a master at delegating responsibilities to the individuals who are the highest, the greater talent, those who have the greatest talent in those particular endeavors. He surrounds himself with them. He gives them in other words, he puts the battery in their back and they go. And he maintains order at the top. This is the man that Randal Pinkett described. Mind you, a black man who worked directly with Donald Trump. Okay? Directly. So, this brother who has this experience with business, okay? Sharp, black, is now about to be the lieutenant governor of New Jersey, the state that only gives us 2 senators that go off to Washington for 6 years and fight for legislation and resources from the federal government for the community and the state that they belong to. Okay, now mind you, New Jersey has never elected a black candidate to the Senate. They've never done that until Cory Booker. A Cory Booker who really had the field wide open for him to walk into the Senate seat, running out of Newark. Now, when you look at all of these facts, and the almost apparent inferences that jump right at you from this, situation, it makes you first think. You jump back and you think about it. Like, wait a minute, hold up. Let's play it out. Let's say Randal Pinkett is rightfully placed in the race as lieutenant governor, and Corzine walks through his administration with this brother in tow. What happens now in 2018 2013, when Cory Booker now is having to make a transition out of Newark, and remember, he was pretty much ran out of Newark. So let's play it out. Let's say now, he has Randal Pickett to run against in the for the Senate race. Randal Pickett, who now would have worked as the lieutenant governor, possibly made a pitch for governor. You have this stellar example in this black candidate, which would literally be the antithesis of what is expected in many cases from the political environment coming out of New Jersey. This is a New Jersey that stomached Christie and stomached Kane and Christie Whitman and McGreevy's. This is the New Jersey that is plagued with, mediocre politicians running the state. And then you have this, brilliant, sharp brother that's running in the political arena. Oh, he had to be stopped. Cory Booker wasn't having that. He had so much invested in his run, in his sprint towards Washington. He was not about to deal with that high level of competition. Sharp James beat Cory Booker for the seat in Newark when he first ran against Cory Booker. But Cory Booker was not about to let his plans, fumble because he lost to this powerful, community-bred, Newark mayor. It's arguable, but, Sharp James might be considered, one of the most popular mayors, to ever sit in that office. Including, the popular mayor now. It's arguable that Sharp Sharp beat Cory, hands down. He beat him. That'll always be a part of, Cory Booker's narrative. It took Cory Booker and his, law school roommate. They may not have been roommates, but they went to law school together. Him and Christie. It was those two that engineered the toppling of Sharp James and, the sending of Sharp James to prison, where he was a political prisoner. And I read his book, Political Prisoner. And literally, you got to go read that and then start connecting the other dots. See, most of us don't have the time to do that. We're working class people. We're overwhelmed with responsibility in many cases. And, we already have other hobbies that we engage in, things that we get involved in that helps us with our balance throughout our day and our weeks and our months, years. So, politics has always been one of those things. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm somewhat aware. I'm somewhat, involved. I mean, literally, mayoral elections, in many cases comes down to, if there's 300,000 people in the city of Newark and only 30,000 vote for the mayor's office, There is 70% of the people out there who are in some way, shape, form, or fashion disconnected from the political process. Any boost in voter registration and participation, in the city, could really throw off and alter the stronghold that, these politicians who inherit power in cities like Newark. So Randal Pickett, his star was pulled out of the sky, and we may never really know. Secret societies operate, secretly, and they go deep. That's why I keep coming back to Hannity's analysis, the deep state, the deep state. I remember Ivan Van Sertima, man will attack you smiling, shaking your hand. Animal, its teeth are growling, it's salivating. You know when animal's gonna attack. You don't know when man is gonna attack. Man sneaks up on you. And he attacks. He attacks in silence. He gets a committee together and they take your job. It's violence of another sort, but it's violence. You take a man's job, or you take a man's, livelihood or position away, and you walk away without even flinching in any type of human remorse. This man could be crying his eyes out to keep his job, and the callousness and the shrewdness, that we engage one another in this society. It breeds situations like this, where this, sharp brother, brilliant thinker is just totally deflated. And now where's Randal Pickett in the political environment in the state of New Jersey? Not in play. Not in play. So, in conclusion, I want to say this in this, new world COVID order. We have got to repair the damage done from decades of democratic corruption in the state of New Jersey. And with that being the goal, ultimately, we're going to have to make some sacrifices. And the first sacrifice we're going to have to make is we're going to have to man up and woman up when it comes to political maturity. We got to be mature politically. We have to be bold politically. We have to be brave politically. We have to shake the foundation up in New Jersey. And we definitely can't even consider giving our vote to the Democratic Party right now. So I'm not going to go into that in this particular podcast. I got the point off that I was looking for. We need to revisit that moment and delve into some more, delve into some research if you need more evidence as to why we need to, in this epoch, we need to show the Democratic Party that our vote matters. And we need to use our vote and leverage that vote with the Republican Party right now, and try to create the reality where our vote now has the strength that it was intended to give Americans. Thank you for listening to this episode 17. Peace.